Today on Mackie Tech, we are taking a look at the brand new Raspberry Pi 500 Plus, an all-in-one computer keyboard combo, which is the successor to the popular Raspberry Pi 500, which was released in December of 2024. Both the Pi 500 and the new Pi 500 Plus are based on the Raspberry Pi 5 SBC's quad-core ARM Cortex-A76 SoC. A big thanks to the Raspberry Pi Foundation for sending me the Raspberry Pi 500 Plus review kit. This video isn't sponsored and they haven't seen it before you, and everything here is just my honest take. This review unit came with the UK keyboard layout since the US version wasn't available in time for testing. Of course, both the UK and the US versions are available for purchase. Like its predecessor, the Pi 500 Plus has two USB 3.0 ports, one USB 2.0 port, 40 GPIO pins, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth 5.0, micro SD slot, 1 gigabit Ethernet, and a USB Type-C for power. Much to my chagrin, the new Pi 500 Plus still has the same two micro HDMI ports. Maybe they'll replace them with full-size HDMI in the Raspberry Pi 6. We can dream, can't we? The good news is the Pi 500 Plus has 16 gigabytes of RAM instead of 8, and best of all, it comes with 256 megabyte onboard SSD with Raspberry Pi OS pre-installed. The unit does not come with a power adapter, mouse, or micro HDMI cable, but does come with plastic rain pullers to swap out your keycaps, as well as a plastic spludger to change the NVMe. To get everything up and running, you'll need a 45-watt Raspberry Pi 5 USB Type-C power connector, as well as a micro HDMI to full-size HDMI cable. And all you do is you connect the micro HDMI portion of the cable to the back of the keyboard in one of the micro HDMI ports. Then just plug in a USB mouse to one of the USB ports and plug in your AC adapter, and that's it. After booting, you'll be prompted to set up a user account, configure your Wi-Fi, and then the system will perform a series of updates which took about 5-10 minutes. And here we are in Raspberry Pi OS running the latest bookworm release. It's the same OS you'd get if you flashed it with the Raspberry Pi Imager with the same apps and the same layout. What I did notice though is thanks to the additional 8 gigabytes of RAM on the Pi 500 Plus, the experience feels a lot smoother. Cycling through menus and opening apps is much more fluid. The browser feels much more responsive, and I can keep way more tabs open in the browser without the lag I used to hit on using only 8 gigabytes. So now let's take this baby apart and see what's under the hood. So to take this apart, there are 5 screws on the bottom, and then I used a spludger to gently pry the keyboard section off. Once off, we see the 256 gigabyte NVMe SSD in all its glory. Optionally, the board supports NVMe M.2 up to 2280 form factor, so you can easily swap them out. Next, we'll take off the aluminum heatsink to see the rest of the board, including the SoC and where the keyboard connects. Speaking of the keyboard, the Pi 500 Plus features a Gateron blue switch, offering long key travel, sharp tactile bump, and the ever so pleasing click with each press of the keypad. I haven't tried the Pi 500 myself, but most reviews mention its keys feeling a lot like a laptop, quiet, low travel, and practical. The mechanical keyboard also has built-in LEDs. Out of the box, you'll have LED indicators for the power button, caps lock, and a Rabel animation when it starts up. But to really unlock the lighting and even remap the keys, you'll need to update the firmware and install the config tool. I will leave the keyboard commands in the video description as well as on my free Patreon. But once that is updated, you can launch it by typing in rpi-keyboard-config in the terminal. From there, you can change colors, brightness, effects, and even program individual keys. It's an easy way to add some personality to the Pi 500 Plus, which is very cool. As mentioned earlier, I don't have a Pi 500 unit available for testing, so I did a few comparisons using the Raspberry Pi 5 with the same setup of 8 gigabytes of RAM and a quad-core CPU and the micro SD card, just like the Pi 500 uses. I started by testing the read-write speed of the NVMe drive in the Pi 500 Plus, so I used the flexible I/O tester, or FIO benchmark, on a 500 megabyte file and ran it for 30 seconds. I got a very impressive 2.8 gigabyte per second read-write speed, and as expected for the Raspberry Pi 5 with its micro SD card, it hit around 30 to 40 megabytes per second read-write speed. So the NVMe on the 500 Plus is absolutely faster than the Pi 500's micro SD card. Next, I tested the Pi 500 Plus boot speed from being shut down and got just under 10 seconds, which is about right for an NVMe, while the Pi 500 booting from SD card was roughly 30 to 40 seconds, which is completely normal, but still quite slow comparatively. Next, I wanted to test the Pi 500 Plus cooling. So I wrote a quick SH script that runs a 5-minute sysbench test, which I'll leave in the description. And again, I was very impressed. It idled around 35 degrees C and only rose to about 45 degrees C, and that's with just its built-in aluminum heatsink. No fan at all. And again, this is the same setup that is on the Pi 500, the predecessor. So the previous Raspberry Pi 500 sells for $90. With 8 gigabytes of RAM and no NVMe support or LED keyboard. The Pi 500 Plus, with twice the RAM and much quicker NVMe as well as the LED keyboard, releases today, September 25th, for $200. Is it worth the additional $110 for faster boot up speed, better multitasking, and lights on your keyboard? I'd say if you already have the 500 and are happy with it, maybe hold off for the next version, maybe next year. If you have the older Raspberry Pi 400, which is also an all-in-one, but based off the Raspberry Pi 4, and you're looking for a little bit of improvement, I'd say definitely pull the trigger, because this is really an impressive compact unit, and I would definitely consider it as a desktop replacement. Let me know in the comments if you have a Pi 500 or Pi 400, and if you think Raspberry Pi made enough improvements to justify the price increase. And let us know if you're going to be running out and buying one, or if you're holding off. Anyway, that's going to wrap up this for today. If you enjoyed this review and you want more content like this, let me know in the comments or give me a thumbs up, and make sure that you click on that subscribe button. Also, don't forget to check out my Patreon for some behind the scenes foolishness and stuff that I don't publish on YouTube. Thank you all again for watching, and we'll talk to you again very soon.